Arkansas did get some positive recruiting news earlier this week when Tay Lockett announced that he was moving from California to Conway. And I know that was a big recruiting story. Richard Davenport, Whole Hog Sports, Arkansas Democrat-Gazette now joins us. Richard, we've seen players leave to go to prep schools like IMG Academy. You think about a lot of basketball players here recently in state that have gone elsewhere. But this is a pretty rare thing to have a kid move in before he goes to Arkansas, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't happen a lot, especially a kid obviously from out of state and in California. But he has so many family members in the state of Arkansas because his mom is originally from Little Rock. So I know that I don't know which family member he'll be living with, but I mean, as far as his family, the vast majority of his family is in Arkansas. So he's always been coming to the state, since as a kid, and a lot of times during the summer he's been in Arkansas, spending time with family. So this is not a big shock, but at the same time he was part of a successful program and in the San Diego area, but decided to transfer to Conway. I mean, I think having Buck James as a head coach is a big consideration here, knowing that he's going to play for a guy that's won several state championships and is a very respected coach, and it'll give him the opportunity also to be able to just go up to Fayetteville anytime he wants to. It's a pretty notable thing. You don't see that very often.
You mentioned Buck James and Conway. Richard, we talk about games we're looking forward to on Arkansas's football schedule this fall. Is there any high school games that you've already kind of marked on your calendar with maybe some notable recruits that you're anticipating on being in attendance for this fall?
No, I would imagine maybe the Bentonville Conway game. I don't know where it's going to be played, but you got two Razorback commitments at receiver for Bentonville, and then obviously you got Tay for Conway. That'd be an interesting matchup, but haven't really looked in depth just yet. But when you think about matchups, you would think that would be a one that will get a lot of attention just because. Excuse me, I had to sneeze there just because of the three future Razorbacks.
Yeah. Richard Davenport with us here on the Lewis Automotive Group hotline. Is it too early to start thinking about official visits and guys coming on campus? Will there be a decent number for the Alabama A&M game, considering it's 3:15 and maybe a less desirable opponent? What are you hearing from guys and their parents as you talk to them about the first home game in less than 3 weeks?
Really haven't reached out to many kids just yet, because a lot of times we're talking about 16, 17, 18-year-old young men. They don't think ahead too often, and they usually make the decisions whether or not they're going to be at a game the week of. Even though I'm sure there's a few that have already made that decision to be at the first game. But you're right. Being a lesser than an appealing game is you probably won't see a big turnout for that, and kids will be focusing on some of the bigger games. Obviously, Notre Dame being one of them. So it's kind of early right now, but I would imagine Tay Lockett will probably be there, and obviously some of the local guys that are committed to them and being recruited by them.
Yeah, you mentioned the Notre Dame game. I saw a clip last week with Hunter Yurachek, and he's less than satisfied with that game being at 11. I think a lot of fans are that way. We talk often about how that hurts your ability to recruit, but is Notre Dame a big enough opponent? Is that going to be a big enough day that even though that game's at 11 a.m., you'll still have a good amount of recruits? What's your senses say about that weekend, late September?
Yeah, it motivates some kids that normally wouldn't attend 11 a.m. game to attend. The biggest challenge, obviously, is the kids 6, 7, 8 hours away. That's a chore because if you're that far away, you're having to leave. Leave at 2, 3 o'clock, or even 1 o'clock in the morning to head to Fayetteville to be able to attend. I remember there was a kid in South Arkansas showed up for an 11 a.m. game, and I think they left at around around 2 a.m. to get to Fayetteville. I mean, that's pretty brutal, especially for a kid that just finished playing the game, and also his parents. Nobody, the parents getting very, very little sleep, if any, because they had to go attend their son's game, and then maybe an hour or two later hit the road. So it's a challenge. It's definitely one of those that, when you have a 2:30 game or later, it makes it so much easier for kids that are coming from longer distance. But somehow kids will try to figure out a way to. Not all kids, obviously, but a good amount of kids will try to figure out a way to somehow make the game. And then if you live in Atlanta, I don't know what the schedule is as far as the nonstop from Atlanta, whether or not it gets in early enough on a Saturday morning. But that's if you're lucky enough to live in a market that has a nonstop to Fayetteville, but gets in there early, it's not that big of a deal. But I mean, Fayetteville has a pretty decent amount of nonstops, but nothing like a bigger market, obviously.
Bring on Southwest, baby. Bring on Southwest to XNA. Let's get more nonstops here in Northwest Arkansas. Richard Davenport with us here on the Morning Rush, Whole Hog Sports, Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. RD, just looking at freshmen this season, I know Antonio Jordan's name's been mentioned. Scott Starzik is probably going to win the kicker job. I wouldn't see why he wouldn't be the starting kicker this fall. Tavion Wallace, is there a freshman that I missed that's going to have an impact, do you think, in his initial year here in Fayetteville?
I think Kevin Otis may have an opportunity to see the rotation. He's a freshman. He was a 4-star by ESPN and Rivals coming out of Hattiesburg, Mississippi. He played in the Under Armour All-American game. I think he's one that you could see on the field, which is somewhat unusual for a lineman. But if a lineman's going to see the field, it's usually a defensive lineman versus an offensive lineman. So I'd keep an eye on him. I think you're right on Tavion Wallace. He'll get into the rotation a little bit, if not quite a bit. It just depends, obviously, how he plays early part of the season. But if not, he'll see some special teams play. But somebody that's not a true freshman, but that I think that could definitely see special teams and also possibly get into the rotations. White Simmons from Harding Academy. So he's a kid that redshirted last year and has so much physical ability. And you hear guys talk about his athleticism. He's got the speed and athleticism. He's put on like 20 pounds since last year. So, again, not a true freshman, but a redshirt freshman. I'm anxious to possibly see.
And I don't know if he's a redshirt freshman or sophomore, but on kind of that same line of thinking. Now, this kid, Courtney Crutchfield, wasn't in Fayetteville last year. He was in Columbia. I mean, Petrino's pretty honest. He's like, yeah, he came in out of shape, 15 pounds, didn't know if he was going to play. Apparently he's kind of picked it up in fall. I know the wide receiver position is an unknown, at least from us talking about it. RD, do you see him having any impact this fall?
I think the rotation is going to be kind of deep, but at the same time, he has tremendous athleticism and ability. If he continues to mature and gets a little bit more discipline here or there, in all areas, as far as off the field, film study and route running and things like that. I think that'll help him see the field a little earlier. But again, probably is about as talented as about anybody on on the team at the receiver position. It just, when you're a younger player, sometimes it takes a little bit longer to mature and do all the things that off the field and even on the field during practice that you need to do to be able to see the field on Saturday.
Yeah. I was listening to Coach Petrino yesterday, and he was talking about the offensive line and that it's probably as good a group. And I know they've been really, really high on these freshman offensive linemen, how strong they are with their hands, how big and physical they are for freshman players. Any of these freshmen that stand out to you and what's going on there when you just kind of look at some of the numbers and the guys that came in, at break? He was really big on the young kids he's got on the offensive line yesterday.
Yeah, Cash Courtney's the one that I've been high on for quite some time. Before he got to campus, he's pretty. Before he got on campus, he was pretty physically mature as far as his weight room numbers, and I'm sure they've improved since he's been on campus since January. And he had some pretty good reps back in the spring, and showed that he was able to physically hold up against some of the older defensive linemen at Arkansas. So he's one to keep an eye on in case something happens with the starter. And who knows? He may even push him. We'll see. But then let's see. Then you had Lionel, the last name, the kid from Shreveport, captain. I'm sorry, his last name kind of escapes me. But anyway, he's about 6'3", about 310, 320, and he played quarterback in the Wildcat formation in high school last year. And you just see some of his film just from the standpoint of his athleticism and his ability to move. And he scored several touchdowns. And you just saw a guy that's pretty nifty, with his footwork, even coming out of the Wildcat formation. You don't see too many offensive linemen at the Wildcat formation at quarterback, and that tells you what kind of athleticism he has. So I'm sure he's one that Coach Petrino likes.
Yeah, Blake Cherry was one that they got a name shout out yesterday, and one that was a freshman last year that started in the bowl game last year in Memphis and has battled recovery from a surgery is Colby Branham. They keep mentioning his name. It sounds like if he doesn't lock down a starting spot at right guard, he's going to be maybe one of those first guys that come in that 6 or 7 man group that play all the snaps on that offensive line.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all. I just remember seeing him before he got on campus, attending like a spring practice, and I thought that he was already. I hadn't seen Kobe in person and didn't know what he completely looked like other than just a few photos. But I just remember seeing him on the sideline, thinking, okay, this must be one of the offensive linemen's hurt or whatever. Well, no, I mean, he was just going into his he was just finishing his junior season, and he's just a massive, thick kid, one of those type kids that you see at at Alabama or Georgia. And I just remember talking to a former high school coach before he got to campus, and he said, watch out for Kobe. He has a chance to even play as a freshman. And then this high school coach is pretty knowledgeable about what it takes to be an offensive lineman on the college level. And you just don't hear that very often about a guy, a coach saying, hey, he's got the possibility of even playing as a freshman. He did play as a freshman and more than held his own. And obviously another year of maturity is going to help. But he is a thick kid and just a big butt offensive lineman. That, like I said, looks like what you see at Alabama and Georgia.
Yeah. Well, Richard, great to talk with you. I know we're getting excited about the start of the season, and we'll catch up again next Wednesday.
All right, buddy. We'll see you guys.